Welcome, everybody, to another episode of the Lunch Table Podcast. And in this episode, we're going to give you our review for The Idol, Episode 3, now streaming on Max. Well, Dylan, why don't you start us off with your thoughts?
It's I'm gonna be honest, guys. Don't watch this with your parents or your kid. It's too much for my senses sometimes. Right. But no, I thought it was interesting in the fact that it showcased what it means to be an artist.
Sure.
And the process of literally finding your voice in a way. And we see in this episode, Tedros, he is definitely running the show, as he says. He's becoming a lot more territorial of Jocelyn. He's kind of like isolating her from Leia a bit. And we see Jocelyn is kind of falling for his manipulation. But at the same time, it's also in part because she wants to reclaim her status and her fame. And she's kind of down this like artist's rabbit hole of like refining herself, why she became a singer in the first place. And it was interesting because they had a whole scene talking about like, you know, what artists are willing to do to find that inspiration and that motivation, the boundaries that they're willing to push, right? So I really appreciate that because as an artist myself, sometimes I actually have those moments where I'm willing to say yes to anything just to try it. But what did you think of this episode?
Yeah, it was an episode also of crashing personalities. There was a lot of moments where Tedros had to shut shit down right then and there to establish his dominance over everyone else. And we get to see which it's going to be weird. I think it's kind of laughable sometimes because there are some moments where it was pretty funny whenever you see Tedros just trying to seem more dominant, especially the scene in, Valentino when they were in that store. Everybody knows that was so unintimidating. That was like so funny and kind of cringe. But all around, I think also this is an episode of showing, you know, Jocelyn is now questioning some things, and it seemed like the preview for episode 4 is going to put that in full blast. Like a lot of people are questioning, is Tedros really the guy he says he is? I thought this episode would do that, but we'll see in episode 4. So all around, I think it's an okay episode. I'd prefer episode 2 over this episode, unfortunately. And this episode is also shorter too. So, but yeah, let's continue.
Yeah, they implement a lot of the sexual overtones too. It's like very like in your face in this one too. But I guess in a way, it's kind of to showcase, you know, who these people are, right? Because they take their vices into their careers, if you want to say. So yeah, the Valentino store scene was like very sexual, but in a way it's kind of like you almost see like Tedros' like like dominating side a bit. Like he's trying to take over Jocelyn's life, not only in like her career, but like in her personal life too. And she's kind of still hesitant and kind of resistant, but she's also trying, like I said, to rebuild herself. So she's willing to go down these very dark corners to reestablish her status as an idol. Yeah, what do you think of that whole like dinner scene actually? Because it was very toxic, but at the same time, I think there's some bitter truth to it. And we got a lot of exposition on, you know, what happened with the mom, and she had a very abusive hold over Jocelyn's life. And Xander was like, you know, kind of part of it. Like he wasn't like enabling the mom, but like he wasn't really there to do anything about it either. So what do you think of that whole scene?
Well, I think about like all these people at the end of the day are really young. So whatever the mom did, Xander could have done something, but I don't even know. I think Xander probably at the time when the mom was doing this was probably like in his early teens or late teens or so. Because Lily-Rose Depp is like, I don't know, like 20 something, like not even near my age. So, and I'm 27 now. So it's like, I don't know what really people could have done. And it just kind of shows you how young people, you could shape them and they're shaped by their traumas easily. And I think that's why it adds to the predatory sense that Tedros' character, you know, he's trying to get these young people every single time. And he's probably the old head, like out of the whole group. So the fact that the way how he's acting, it's like this type of being, it's not even like this person is trying to pull at everyone's darkest insecurities and secrets. It's kind of really nasty, like you said, toxic. And I think it makes a lot of sense that the mom abused Jocelyn, because why would she act that way before she met Tedros? And you know, I mean, I know about celebrities, so I keep up with the tea, and I never seen somebody like really go all out with this shit and really enjoy. Not even Britney Spears, like she's kind of in a way kind of a little bit more risque than Britney was with the sex stuff. So it's a bad combo. It's kind of like a glass that's about to be overfilled when Tedros is in the mix, and it's going to be even worse, especially when you include abuse, because the mom, part of the magic is the abuse, that the mom is nitpicking over everything Jocelyn does and hits her with a hairbrush. And so when you mix sexual things with trauma, and then plus you mix your career, it's a bad recipe for disaster. And I think the only way for Jocelyn to get out of this mess is to, one, get away from Tedros, two, give up her career, because that career now is intertwined with that. There's no way you're going to ever be at peace. She'll probably have an overdose. Like, it seems like they're going to go down that route, unfortunately.
Yeah, and it seemed like Tedros himself, and it's funny because you mentioned insecurities. I feel like Tedros also has a lot of insecurities.
Yep.
There's a lot of times where he's called out on like his sexuality. Like Jocelyn mentioned that, you know, she was actually like joking about like that he might be gay, and then he kind of like took it a little too hard. And then there was another time where Jocelyn was, well, she wasn't really flirting, but she was kind of like letting her personal trainer like touch her, even though that was kind of weird.
Body, right? Oh my god, you're so tight.
I'm not gonna lie, that was a little. I don't want to say it because of YouTube. It was a little grapey.
Yes, but wow, you're so tight,
right? Right. But yeah, there was like a moment where like Tedros could just like fire the dude just because like he was kind of like getting too comfortable.
Yeah.
So I feel like he himself has like a lot of insecurities himself, and that's gonna bleed over. And I think like we're gonna see like from this point on, I feel like their relationship is gonna plateau. Perhaps, you know, in a way, it's like as her career is building up, I think her social life is gonna decline, right? Because if you notice, he's trying to isolate Jocelyn from a lot of the people in her life, like Fahim and Destiny, because they seem like to be like her parental figures in her life, if you notice. Like, despite like, you know, even though they're for the money and they're for the business, but it seems like they're the only ones that really care about her, you know, beyond just like her career. That was so funny too when like Fahim pulled out the gun. It's just so random. He just had it like ready to go. And Destiny, like, she's such a badass too. And I feel like Leia, she tries too hard to be like the saving grace of Jocelyn's life. I feel like she's like so not weak, but like she doesn't really do much to prevent Tedros from getting his claws in her life. You know what I mean?
Yeah, she and this episode, honestly, she seemed like a moron to me. She seemed like I bet everybody was thinking, oh, she's a stupid bitch. Like, that's how it seemed. And I'm hoping that she can make a comeback and actually do something to save Jocelyn, because then that'll be like a really satisfying moment. I think we'll actually see that, because she is constantly worried, and as she should be. She's stuck around with Jocelyn since the beginning. I think she has good intentions. It's just like she's also mixed in the sauce, and it's I don't know if she's really the. And again, Fahim and Destiny, they don't have much faith in Jocelyn, but they stick around with Jocelyn because I think they could see the potential that she has. I think the situation between everybody is this. It's burning a candle from both ends. And though the light may seem brighter and more beautiful, it's going to set the house on fire. And I think, again, this show might be canceled for season 2. So I know it has bad ratings even more now, and there's a lot of bad talk about the drama and stuff like that. So I really feel like it's going to come to a bad conclusion, and it's going to be something very traumatic, probably like Succession, the series finale, where like no one really won. Because again, we're talking about Leah. She slept with one of the guys. So, okay, you're already mixed in. That's it. Once you did that, what, now you're going to act like all these people are bad and shit? Like, no, you slept with a guy. You're there. You're entertaining the guests sometimes. And Kayam and Destiny, anyway, they thought that Tedros was like a cool guy, but then when they went back to the truck, they were like, or the car, they were like, oh, I don't know about him. It's like, well, why you didn't do anything since the beginning? What are you trying to wait for?
Right.
A song with moaning? Really? That's it? And she only has one song, so I don't know how she's going to do a whole album yet. Anyway, I really feel like I like that they added this. They added... I'm trying to look for her right now. I can't really find her. Sorry. They added the other lady I'm sorry. Diane. There you go. Played by Jennie Kim.
Oh, the Asian singer.
Yeah, they added her. I like that they added her in episode 2 and episode 1, but I like how she's kind of like the sleeper agent just in case. Because it seems like a whole lot of nothing is happening here. It's just establishing the relationship. And now we broke that barrier where, okay, now we're introducing abuse in your childhood. So now I gotcha. That's how he probably has everybody to get them to do whatever they want. Because she went for it. She was like, Leia, hit me. And then she turned around at the end of the episode and was like, thank you for doing this. She appreciated it. Dangerous spot. I think now he has her right wrapped around his finger.
I feel like Xander too might be like a snake.
Yes, he is. The fuck? That was so messed up with the picture thing. The album. Yes.
Well, if you notice too, he goes back and forth a lot. Like that dinner table scene. Like there's one moment where like he's agreeing with Jocelyn, and there's another moment where like he's like, sucking off Tedros. It's like, yeah, I think you should do it. I think you should have the picture of the cum on your face as you're out. Like, what?
How would they even allow that? Where are you gonna go to FYE or like some
That's
fucking
gonna be
Target?
The whole album cover would just be pixelated. Like, what?
Why are you stupid? You're just stupid. You're mad dumb. I don't know what they're talking about. The Weeknd, not the Weeknd. Tedros, honestly, he's gonna. And you know what I like too is I like that Jocelyn says that she has more experience than Tedros does. I like that. That's why I say in the beginning of this, it was like clashing personalities and stuff, because she does know that more than Tedros. I think she just lacks the motivation. And it's hard in the music industry, because I like how Sam Levinson, I think his name is, he talked about how the music industry is its own cult and Tedros has his own cult. So it's like, to get away from that, to change completely, that's like having Taylor Swift do metal music or something. It's like, or like, it's like weird. It's not going to work really.
Well, let me ask you something. Do you think the ends justify the means in a way? Like, yeah, Tedros is a bit extreme, but in a way, Jocelyn is kind of like clueless. Like she obviously has the talent and the passion for it, but it seems like she just doesn't have, I don't know, the motivation or that inner artist, to find her voice. So do you think in a way, like Tedros is actually like the stone that's like sharpening her in a way? Or do you think it's like, it's for a lost cause?
I think he's, I in a crude sense, I feel like every time he fucks her, he's like fucking her guts out of her. But then there's nothing left inside, right? There's nothing left inside. She's just a husk. So what's left? You're just dead. And she will die if she keeps like going on this with smoking so much and doing all these drugs and stuff. I think for him, it makes sense because he has other people. For her, she could make one great album, but for the greater good of society and shit like that, I listen to this song on the radio, I turn it off, I go take a shit. It's not like it did something for my life. He didn't say my life. So for her, she does one song and then she's like, oh my God, yeah, finally. And she dies. That's the point. When you think of an idol, you think of also like statues and shit like that. You think of something that remains for a long time. But I don't think it's worth it. I don't think it's worth it because she's not going to be here anymore. And she's so young too. Like, I would understand maybe this will match more if she was like 40. She was well known back then, and she wants to do one more last thing. Then it's different, But still, it doesn't fit. You're on a plane that's about to crash. You're knowingly going to ride a plane that is for sure going to crash. The wings are chipped for sure. You know it. She knows it. She knows the truth. She talked to them. She asked, like, "What the hell are you guys talking about?" Right?
Well, then again,
knows.
It poses the question: does she have anything left to lose, though? Because if she knows she's gonna crash, she's obviously, well, like, the fans say they love her, but let's be real, like she's probably declining, popularity. So it's like maybe this is good for her in a way. And also, I kind of want to agree with Tedros because it's like you have to take risks sometimes. I just think of our podcast sometimes, like the risks we take sometimes, like things we talk about. Mm-hmm. It's like if you try to, and I notice with this a lot with like movies nowadays too. It's like when you try to cater to everybody, it's like what is your message, right? Your message gets like lost in a way. So perhaps this is good for her, albeit it's an extreme form of talent or technique, but in a way it's like now she actually has a message that she can put out, right?
Well, I like how you propose that, because it's basically like right now we're on different sides of the argument. So I'm worried about her safety, and you're worried about, in a way, kind of her happiness and legacy. And I don't really care if she's happy. I don't care. I'd rather for her to be safe. So, but I think the point is exactly what you're saying. In her mind and Tedros' mind, I think that's the point. It's gonna crash, but you're a part of our family now, and we can make something amazing out of you. But I still feel like that has an expiration date. You know what I mean? You look at all these people that already they made it. It's like, why are you so greedy at this point? It's, yeah, I think the show's really tragic. I can't see it making a return, but what you're saying is like, I feel like you're spot on, and I do feel like something will happen.
I think there's interesting concepts that they play with, especially with the idea. And, Succession did this also, where it kind of gave us a sneak peek of what corporate life is like with big business. And here it kind of takes that with fame and stardom, right? And it shows us the toxicity side of it and how it's very glorified in the media. But when you take a deeper look, there's actually a lot of pain that goes behind it, right? People don't. People always say like, it's like, oh, well, you have billions of dollars, right? You should be happy. But it's like, well, to achieve that, right, you had to make a lot of personal sacrifices too. Mm-hmm. So I think it's an interesting showcase of that. I think where it kind of loses me is the kind of like the inner drama stuff and the sexual stuff. I think it overtakes the show a little bit.
It does.
Where it's like, okay, well, I'd rather go on to like the business side of it. Mm-hmm. But I guess, Sam Levinson wanted to treat it kind of like Euphoria, where it's like, it's this very hypersexualized show where it kind of has to, cater to audiences too. But I think it kind of like overshadows, the bigger themes in a way.
Yeah, it's clashing tones as well. Yeah. I think that's a problem. If this show was structured in a different way, maybe that would match. I mean, I'm not really for the hypersexualization of that. I find it unnecessary and like distasteful sometimes. So this takes away from it. I do get what they're trying to do. Well, it could be two things. A lot of people are saying Sam Levinson, he just has like a fetish for this type of stuff. I don't. It could be, but I don't really think it's that. I just think he's trying to demonstrate how deep down these people are. They're like really down, and you have to rely on these dopamine sensations in order to keep you going through life. And then there's also some commentary on that with some of the drug use, the cigarettes, the this and that. So, and that's what I liked about Euphoria. There was a lot of commentary on drug use. Euphoria actually I think was less sexual than The Idol is. But even The Idol, anyways, The Idol, I'd say it's not as bad, like as everyone's saying. I know it's kind of weird for me to say that, but it's not like Jocelyn is having these gangbangs with all these guys. It's mostly just Tedros, and that's really about it. I mean, there is like a lot of times she's like topless and stuff, and maybe that could seem unnecessary. But it's kind of like the show Outlander. That's like such a show like for girls and stuff like that on Stars. They kind of do the same thing too. So, yeah.
Well said.
You too.
I think we said, our piece about this episode. I still, for the most part, think it's very entertaining to watch. And it's definitely, HBO. It's definitely HBO style, I would say. Yeah. But if you had to rate episode 3, how would you rate it?
I probably will give it a... I don't know. This one, actually, I think I'd just give it like That's a difficult question, to be honest with you, because I liked to not like this episode. So I think I give it like a 5, to be honest with you, out of 10.
Really?
Yeah.
I'll probably give it a 7. I think the sexual stuff kind of lost me, but the conversations that they had were actually like the most meaningful that they've had so far in the show. That's where I really like paid attention, because they talk a lot about, you know, the artist struggle, right, and the artist block, as some people have it. So yeah, 7 out of 10 for me. It's interesting that we were on different sides of the issue on this episode. So, but nonetheless, guys, thank you for sticking around. If you made it to the end of this episode, if you like this video, leave us a subscribe. Anything helps the channel. Comment, let us know how we're doing. Check out our other reviews for the Idol episodes 1 to 2 already out. Yeah, we do plenty of content, guys. We're doing plenty of movies, TV shows, gaming showcases. We did a lot of, you know, Summer Game Fest, Ubisoft Forward, plenty of, you know, gaming content. But yeah, let us know how we're doing. And until then, guys, thanks for having lunch with us.
See you guys.